They told you that lust is a sin, that desire is dirty, that the fire in your gut must be silenced or shamed. But what they never told you, what they were afraid you'd discover, is that your lust was never meant to be destroyed. It was meant to be mastered. You see, you're not just a man with sexual urges. You're a man with untamed power, waiting to be focused, directed, and forged. And until you confront your lust, until you look it dead in the eyes and choose to own it, you will remain a prisoner in your own body. Because here's the truth, your lust is not the enemy. It's your untapped war drum. And when you finally learn how to channel that chaotic heat inside you, you will not only reclaim your masculinity, you will become unstoppable. But to do that, you must go where most men never dare. So, are you ready to enter the fire? You wake up every morning with a phone in your hand and a hollow in your chest. Scroll. Like. Swipe. It's not even noon and your primal fire has already been milk dried by pixelated skin and synthetic connection. You're not alone. Millions of men are walking the earth with eyes glazed, testosterone levels flatlined, spirits numb, and they don't even know they're dying from the inside. Why? Because modern life has weaponized comfort against your masculinity. And sexual energy, the very force that once made men build empires, create art, fight battles, and protect their tribe, is now being hijacked by algorithms and cheap dopamine. You were never trained to contain that energy. You were taught to release it, endlessly, aimlessly, carelessly. You were told that lust is just a need to be scratched like an itch. So you scratched it. Again. And again. And again. Until there was no edge left in your soul. But that hunger inside you, it was never meant to be numbed. It was meant to be wielded. You can feel it, can't you? That deep restlessness inside. The part of you that wants more. Not more sex, not more girls, not even more pleasure. You want power. You want the return of your edge. You want the fire back in your eyes, the primal strength in your bones, the iron will to walk into your own darkness and come out forged. But to do that, you must reclaim what society told you to suppress. You must take back your lust, not as a slave to it, but as its master. And that begins with a truth you've never been told. Your sexual energy is your masculine identity in raw form. It is not weakness. It is not shame. It is not evil. It is the signal flare of your deepest purpose. And until you learn to face it, until you dare to transmute it, you will never feel like a complete man. So ask yourself, are you tired of being drained? Or are you ready to be dangerous? Because the warrior inside you is not dead. He's just been starved. And it's time to wake him up. You've been told that libido is just about sex. That it's a biological urge. A physical craving. A shallow appetite. But Carl Jung shattered that illusion. To Jung, libido wasn't about pleasure. It was the fuel of your entire being. It was psychic energy. The raw, molten drive behind everything you do. From your need to create, to fight, to love, to build, to lead, it all stems from the same fire, your libido. And here's what nobody told you. Every man is born with a warrior inside him. But that warrior isn't created in the gym. He isn't born through bravado or fists. He is forged in the furnace of your sexual energy. You see, the libido isn't just there to push you toward women. It's there to push you toward transformation. It's not the urge to mate, it's the urge to become. But when that energy isn't directed toward a higher purpose, it turns against you. When it's not converted into art, ambition, mastery, mission, it becomes chaos. And that's what's happened to most modern men. Their libido has no higher outlet. So it rots. It festers. It leaks out in compulsions, addictions, weakness, self-doubt. It drains the masculine frame until all that's left is a hollow boy trapped in a man's body. But the ancient warrior within you, he's still there. And Jung knew that the only way to awaken him is through integration. To face the parts of you you've denied. To stop fearing your sexual urges. To stop outsourcing your power to porn, women, or society. And to realize that your lust was never meant to rule you. It was meant to lead you, deep into your own soul. Jung called it individuation. The path of becoming whole. And libido is the fuel that gets you there. But you don't become whole by avoiding the fire. You become whole by walking through it, with your eyes wide open. That ache in your chest? That burning hunger in your gut? That isn't weakness. That is the birthplace of your warrior. And when you choose to harness it, not suppress it, not indulge it blindly, but alchemize it, you begin to reclaim your masculine identity. Not as a playboy, not as a nice guy, not as a simp or a savage or a sellout, but as a man who has discipline, direction, and depth. A man who knows that his greatest power lies in what he can withhold, not just what he can chase. So now, ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped leaking that energy out into the void? What would you build, become, or conquer if you took that raw libido and forged it into fire? Because your inner warrior is not waiting for sex. He's waiting for your transformation. There's a part of you don't talk about. A side of yourself you push down, bury, deny. It's the part that feels jealous when another man has more success. The part that secretly craves dominance but fears rejection. The part that lusts, aches, fantasizes, but feels dirty afterward. That part is your shadow. And until you face it, until you integrate it, it will control you from the dark. Carl Jung taught that every man has a shadow self. A reservoir of all the instincts, urges, and fears that society told him to suppress. And for the modern man, the largest piece of that shadow is sexual. Think about it. From a young age, you were told that arousal was wrong, that wanting was shameful, that expressing sexual energy made you dangerous, inappropriate, perverted. So what did you do? You tucked it away. You smiled. You obeyed. You kept quiet. You learned how to behave, but you forgot how to burn. But here's the danger. What you repress controls you. That sexual energy you shoved into your shadow? It doesn't die. It festers. And when it leaks out through addiction, self-sabotage, rage, or weakness, it owns you. This is the shadow of the weak male. Not weak because he doesn't have strength, but because he's terrified of his own power. He pretends he's a good guy. He tells himself he's above all that. But inside he is starved, hollow, desperate for validation. And he gives his power away to every woman who smiles at him, to every urge that hijacks his clarity, to every fantasy he's too afraid to face. He chases pleasure, but he has no direction. He wants women, but he has no spine. He pretends to be in control, but his lust pulls the strings. You've seen him. You've been him. But you don't have to stay there. Because shadow work is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming honest. Brutally, savagely honest with who you are, and what drives you. And when you look into the shadow and say, yes, I am capable of lust, of hunger, of power, of rage, you begin to reclaim your fire. You begin to walk like a man who knows his darkness, and therefore cannot be controlled by it. The weak male is not weak because he lacks libido. He is weak because he refuses to own it. But when you do, when you stand face to face with your unfiltered desire, and refuse to bow to it or bury it, that's when your warrior emerges from the shadows. That's when your masculine identity stops being a mask and becomes a weapon. You are not here to be domesticated. You are here to be dangerous in your discipline. And your shadow? It is not your enemy. It is your initiation. Every day, you wake up with two voices inside you. One says, indulge. The other whispers, resist. One urges you to scroll, to fantasize, to surrender to the moment. The other demands you rise, grind, build, endure. This is not just about porn, or lust, or women. This is a war for your soul. And every man must choose. Will you be ruled by desire, or will you become the architect of it? This is the battleground Jung pointed to, the crucible where the ego meets the unconscious, where your primal urges confront your higher self. And most men? They lose. Not because they're evil. Not because they're broken. But because they were never trained to fight. Society told you to suppress desire. Or worse, to worship it. You were never shown how to discipline it, to master your urges, to use them as fuel, to transform them into momentum. But the truth is, every time you resist the easy pleasure, you build inner power. Every time you say no to the urge that wants to drain you, You say yes to the man you're becoming. Because desire is not the problem. It's the teacher. It shows you exactly where you're weakest, exactly where your growth begins. And discipline? Discipline is the sword you must sharpen every single day. But here's what no one tells you. Discipline is not about denying yourself forever. It's not about shame, or guilt, or becoming numb. It's about choice. Discipline is the ability to say, yes, I want that. But I want something greater more. It's about becoming the man who doesn't flinch when temptation strikes. Because he knows that every drop of unspent desire becomes power stored. Power to create. Power to lead. Power to walk into a room and be felt without saying a word. You've felt it before, those moments when you held back. Not because you were scared, but because you were rising. That's your edge. That's your fire. That's your masculine core sharpening itself against your hunger. The man who disciplines his desire does not become cold. He becomes dangerous. Not reactive. Not impulsive. But precise. Focused. Unshakable. So ask yourself right now, what would happen if, for the next 30 days, you held your lust like a weapon instead of wasting it like a weakness? What if you stopped chasing, stopped leaking, stopped collapsing, and instead, you became the storm that women respect, that men follow, that your future self honors? Because this is the moment you decide. Will you be a man of comfort? Or a man of conquest? The battle is inside you. And every moment you delay the easy hit, you sharpen your inner blade. The warrior is not born in the fight. He is born in the choice not to fight the wrong battles. Desire or discipline. Boy or man. Pawn or king. The decision is always yours. You think it's just porn. A late night scroll. A harmless release. A secret no one needs to know about. But deep down, something feels wrong. You close the tab, and your chest feels emptier than before. You feel drained. Weak. Ashamed. Not because you did something evil, but because a part of you knows you just gave your power away. Again. This isn't about morality. This is about possession. Carl Jung warned of it, the Anima trap. Your Anima, the feminine within you, is meant to be integrated. Balanced. Harmonized. But when it's projected outward onto fantasy, image, illusion, it becomes a cage. You don't lust after her body. You lust after your own disowned soul. That's the trap. Porn doesn't just stimulate you. It splits you. It hijacks the deepest parts of your libido, the part meant for creation, love, mission, transformation, and diverts it into pixels, shadows, and echoes of the feminine you've never integrated. And the more you feed it, the more you become possessed by her. You stop seeing real women. You stop hearing your inner voice. You stop creating anything worth remembering. You become passive. Docile. You sit, hunched in a dark room, handing over your masculine flame to an image on a screen. And the worst part? It feels safe. Because the real feminine, the embodied woman, the powerful muse, the spiritual mirror, she terrifies you. Why? Because she can reject you. She can challenge you. She can see through you. But the woman on the screen? She never says no. She never sees your flaws. She never asks you to rise. That's why you keep going back. Not for pleasure, but for control. But control is not the path of the warrior. Surrendering your power to illusion is. Jung taught that men who are possessed by their anima become weak, emotional, self-deceiving. They lose their direction. They lose their edge. They become obsessed with the feminine to the point of losing themselves. And what is porn addiction if not a slow, psychological possession by an idealized anima? You don't need another woman on a screen. You need to reclaim the parts of yourself you've projected onto her. The sensitivity. The creativity. The beauty. The wild chaos. All of it lives in you, but you've exiled it. You've replaced integration with infatuation. And now, you're stuck. But you can get out. You don't break the anima trap by hating women. You break it by becoming whole. By looking at that pixelated goddess and saying, "You are not my salvation. You are a mirror of what I've lost." You stop feeding the illusion, and you start feeding the flame inside you. Because the more you waste your sexual energy chasing shadows, the less you have to build your kingdom. But the moment you withdraw your power from the screen, the moment you redirect your lust back into your life, that's the moment you stop being possessed and start becoming dangerous again. You don't kill lust. You refine it. This is the secret they never taught you. They told you to run from it, to bury it in shame, or to lose yourself inside it. But no one told you that lust is a fire meant for alchemy. Inside that fire lives your creativity, your ambition, your spiritual strength, your masculine soul. But most men? They burn in it, because they never learn how to walk through it. What if I told you that your lust, your raw, aching, feral desire, was never about sex? It was a signal, a siren, a divine force screaming from your lower self to your higher self. Awaken. Create. Become. This is what the ancient warriors knew. This is what monks, mystics, and sages all across cultures mastered. They didn't cut off their sexual energy. They transmuted it. They understood the secret of fire. It either consumes you or purifies you, depending on what you bring into it. And you? You were born to walk through it and come out with steel in your bones. But that takes discipline. That takes intention. That takes the courage to face your lust and say, I see you. I feel you. But I do not serve you. You serve me. This is initiation. To choose the tension. To feel the hunger and not run. To sit with the heat and breathe deeper. Every time you withhold your lust from wasting, it builds. It rises through your spine, through your chest, through your throat. And when you direct it, into art, into purpose, into presence, it becomes power no one can touch. This is sexual transmutation. Not suppression. Not celibacy out of fear. But sacred containment. It's the moment your lust stops chasing pleasure and starts becoming presence. You become more alert. More magnetic. More alive. Women feel it in the way you walk. Men feel it in the way you speak. The world responds differently when you carry fire and refuse to spill it. You're no longer starving for touch. You've become the source of heat itself. But don't be mistaken, this is not easy. This is the rite of passage. And most men will fail. They'll relapse. They'll lie to themselves. They'll say it's not that serious. They'll trade their crown for 5 seconds of dopamine. But not you. Because you feel it in your bones. You were meant to rise. You were born for more than release. You are being called into the fire. So walk into it. Eyes open. Jaw clenched. Back straight. Let it burn away your weakness. Let it cauterize your shame. Let it transform your lust into the weapon it was always meant to be. You don't run from fire anymore. You are the fire. There's a man the world never sees coming. He doesn't brag. He doesn't chase. He doesn't announce his arrival. He moves in silence. Because his power is no longer loud. It's anchored. This man has looked into his lust and didn't flinch. He's faced his hunger, not with fear, but with reverence. He no longer leaks. He channels. And what flows from him now isn't just sexual energy, it's gravity. You can feel it when he walks into a room. Women turn. Men stand taller. Not because he demands attention, but because his energy is unmistakably whole. This is the integrated man. The man who has walked through the chaos of his desires and returned with clarity. He doesn't fear his dark thoughts. He knows them. He names them. He weaves them into his discipline like threads of black silk. Because he's no longer at war with himself. He has accepted the beast and taught it how to kneel. This man doesn't need validation. He is no longer seduced by the false feminine. The goddess on the screen, the fantasy in his head. He sees through the illusion. And in that clarity, he becomes undeniably masculine. Not macho. Not domineering. Rooted. Focused. Dangerous in all the right ways. This is the kind of man who builds empires. Who speaks few words but speaks them like fire. Who touches a woman not from need, but from overflowing presence. He's not starving. He's full. Because his lust no longer owns him. He owns it. You see, society fears this man. Because he cannot be bought. He cannot be addicted. He cannot be distracted with dopamine or tamed with comfort. He is sovereign. And his silence is more terrifying than any scream. The integrated man is no longer torn between two selves. He is one. He no longer chases meaning. He embodies it. And while others are trying to escape their pain, he sits with his, listens to it, learns from it. Because he knows. Within that pain is the blueprint of his becoming. He is the culmination of fire and focus, discipline and desire, darkness and light. He is not just a man. He is a force of nature. And now, that force lives inside you. It's been waiting. It's been calling. And today, right now, you decide. Will you waste that fire on fantasy? Or will you become the man this world quietly fears? The man who is full of lust, and yet utterly in command of it. The world doesn't need more obedient men. The world needs you. The integrated warrior. No longer fractured. No longer hungry. No longer possessed. Just whole. Just powerful. Just you. So now you know. This wasn't just about sexual energy. It was about who you are without your illusions. You've spent years flickering, chasing pleasure, collapsing into urges, handing your masculine fire to shadows on a screen and fantasies in your head. But something deeper inside you never died. It watched, quietly. It waited, patiently. It whispered, "There's more." And now that whisper becomes a roar. You've met your shadow. You've felt your hunger. You've stared into the abyss of your lust, and for the first time, you didn't look away. This is where boys fall and men rise. Not because they're perfect. Not because they're fearless. But because they choose power over comfort. Truth over illusion. Purpose over pleasure. You've seen now what most never will. That your sexual energy is not a curse. It's a compass. It points you to your weaknesses. It reveals your inner war. And when you hold it, instead of spilling it, you become unshakable. So the next time the screen calls, the urge pulls, the fantasy rises. Pause. Take a breath. Feel the fire. And don't waste it. Direct it. Wield it. Burn with it. Because now you know what's at stake. Your life. Your edge. Your throne. The world doesn't need another man chasing pleasure. It needs you. Clear-eyed. Battle-tested. Integrated. Not ruled by lust, but reborn through it. You're not flickering anymore. You are the flame.